Thank you. Be seated.
Yes.
Consider yourself on the record. Pull that microphone down in front of you, and then just remember as you're speaking, just even though there is a microphone, to keep your voice up.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Can you give us your name, spell your last name, please?
David Wokady, W-O-K-A-T-Y.
Okay. And you go by Dave?
Yes.
And how old are you, Dave?
35.
You grew up in the Cleveland Akron area?
I grew up in Akron.
Went to high school here?
I graduated from Manchester.
I'm going to pull the mic a little bit toward you. You were there. Remember to just project a little when you speak. All right, so you went to Manchester High School?
Correct.
And what year did you graduate?
98.
What do you do for a living? Work background?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What's your work background? What do you do?
I do tree work as my primary, but I do a little bit of side jobs here and there. I bounce on the side. Construction, things of that nature.
Okay. You said one thing you do, you said the word bounce on the side. What does that mean?
I'm a security guard at a country bar in the Akron area.
Okay. How long have you been doing that on the side?
2 years.
I think just recently you had a job in like medical billing or something.
Yeah,
like
that was just after my recovery. I wasn't able to do what I normally do, the tree work and that.
Physical work was hard after the...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So we'll get to those. Okay, thank you. I want to ask you then about Papa John's bar, Papa John's pub. Are you a regular there?
Yes.
And how long have you been going there?
Probably around approximately 3 years.
Were you ever employed by the bar itself?
No. I just helped out whenever I could if I was ever for anything.
Okay. So if you say you've been a regular there, so you know Tiffany Miller?
Yes.
You know her family?
Yes.
And do you know Anne Marie Cusio?
Yes.
Bob Wilson?
Yes.
And how are you acquainted with them?
I met Anne Marie when she was bartending there. I'm going to have to say approximately maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And her fiance, boyfriend, Ravon, him and I just always had good conversation whenever he was around, whether it be she working or just there, relaxing.
Okay. And as a regular, how often would you say you go there to the bar?
Probably around 2 to 3 times a week.
So did you meet Tiffany through Papa John's pub?
Yes.
And did you know Justin Winebrenner?
Yes.
And how did you know him?
I knew him from being around with Tiffany in the bar and that. I knew him for approximately a year.
Did you know they were a couple?
Yes.
Did you see them in the bar together?
Yes.
Was it kind of a normal or common experience to see them at Papa John's pub together?
I don't know that I would say together. She would be working and she would come in and socialize and just relax on us all the time.
I guess the better question would be, could you tell by their interactions when they were at the bar at the same time that they were
Yes.
And you said that you were friendly with Justin?
Yes.
Did you know he was a police officer?
Yes. Yes.
And other patrons in the bar, when you've been there, other police officers use that restaurant or pub?
Yes.
And on the night that we're talking about, on November 15th and November 16th, 2014, were you there at that time?
Yes.
And who were you there with?
I was there with a friend, Jennifer Imhoff.
Can you spell Imhoff for me?
Imhoff.
So you were with Jennifer Imhoff that night at the bar?
Correct.
Let me take it back to a little bit before you guys get there, okay? Where were you coming from that night, you and she?
We had just left Nashville Nights. We stopped there to see a band play.
Is that a restaurant or pub, bar?
It's a bar. And we had left there and went to Papa John's from there.
Do you know do you know what time you got to Papa John's approximately?
I want to say it was right around 12:30, 12:45.
And was that kind of your last stop of the evening?
Yes.
Do you live or was your house near Papa John's?
Yes. I live within walking distance.
And you and Jennifer Imhoff, when you were at other places before coming to Papa John's, National Nights, I think, did you mention another place? Did you go to bowling alley?
Oh yeah, we had stopped at Bill White's for a friend's birthday.
So during the course of the night then, you had some alcoholic beverages, you and Jennifer Imhoff?
Yes.
All right. Could you just tell us through the evening, well, let's start with what time you guys kind of left to go out, what time was that? I know it's
Probably right around 9:30-ish, 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay. So between 9:30 and about 12:30, when you got to Papa John's pub, had you guys had a few beers at that point?
Yes.
All right. About how much had you had to drink, if you remember?
Probably between 3 and 4.
We're talking like beers or?
Beers.
And what about John's?
I can't recall.
When you get to Papa John's, you see, faces that are familiar to you?
Yes. Excuse me, yes.
And were there actually other, besides, well, when you get there, there's actually some other off-duty police officers, is that right?
Correct.
Do you know who they are?
Yes.
Do you know them by name or by face?
Both.
And when you arrived, do you remember if Tiffany or Justin, if they were there yet?
I don't believe they were there when I arrived.
Now, as a regular there at Papa John's, have you had the opportunity to see Tiffany interacting with patrons? And when I mean, I guess patrons who are being unruly or maybe causing a problem in the pub, have you seen her interact with people like that in the past?
Yes.
And you, I guess, work security in different places like this as well, right?
Correct.
How does Tiffany handle problem patrons in the pub that you observe?
Excuse me. My observation of Tiffany interacting with other patrons, customers, is very professional. She always tries to find a solution to whatever the problem may be. It's a rarity that I've ever seen any patrons escalate or become extremely agitated over a solution that she had come up with, whether it be, well, I'll cut your bill in half, or let me buy you a drink if that was the wrong drink, or things of that nature.
And in your experience there, have you ever had to intercede at the bar and try to remove a patient that was being a problem?
Just so much as, hey, buddy, why don't you you're drunk, why don't you go home, sleep it off? But nothing where it ever really got physical or anything of that nature. Just more a verbal, hey, do yourself a favor, you know, you don't want to get in any trouble, probably ought to just go home, sleep it off, and come back tomorrow.
Right. And as working in that security person at a pub like this or as a bouncer, I mean, do you want something to escalate and to get physical when you're dealing with an unruly patron?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Heck, I do everything I possibly can to avoid a physical altercation.
Why do you say that?
Well, one, I don't want to get hurt. Two, I don't want anybody else to get hurt in the process. And it's not necessary to be physical. If you can solve an issue verbally, then that's the way I would prefer it to go.
Now, sir, do you know, or had you met before this day, November 15th and 16th, 2014? Did you know Kenan Ivery?
No.
Never saw him in the club before?
I had never seen him.
So when did Kenan Ivery then first come to your attention that night?
The first that the first time I noticed him in the bar was when him and Tiff were having a lengthy conversation, and I was at that time unaware of about what, but I just noticed that she was having a lengthy conversation with him, and being that she is the bar owner's / manager, she's usually kind of busy to be having that long of a conversation with somebody. So at that point, I, had noticed that he was there.
Okay. So I guess what you're saying is it fair to say that she and Kenan Ivery came to your attention because it was such a long conversation?
Yes, correct.
And could you hear what they were talking about?
I could not.
And I guess to put this in context of time, were you aware that Kenan Ivery leaves the bar at a certain point and then comes back?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Are you aware that he gets kicked out?
I am.
All right. So the conversation you're talking about that you observed between Kenan Ivery and Tiffany Miller, does that happen, are you talking about before he gets kicked out?
Correct.
Okay. And if we can look at the board I have over here, State's Exhibit 6, I'm sorry, 5, kind of a drawing of the bar itself. And here's the front door. Do you have a certain area of the bar where you sit down, where you kind of hang out that night?
That particular night, I had started my night off on the third bistro over.
So these are like called bistros?
That's what I call them, yeah. 1, 2, 3 over. I think it was that one there. I was spending a lot of time with Jennifer. And then throughout the night, I meandered down toward the end of the bar this way.
Right down here?
No.
Other way.
Wait.
The door's here. It's kind of
Okay, okay, this end right here.
down here?
Yes.
Okay. And when you saw Tiffany engage in a conversation with the defendant before he was kicked out, okay, where did that take place if you were here? Or approximately if you were in that bistro table?
A lot of it would have taken place down at the opposite end of at the other end of the bar.
Talking down here?
Correct, right there.
Okay.
Actually at the bar itself.
Over here?
Yeah.
Further down?
More.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay. Okay. So that's when it comes to your attention that they're having kind of a lengthy conversation?
Correct.
Can you tell by everybody's demeanor, either Kenan Ivery's or Tiffany Miller's, anything about their conversation by demeanor?
Honestly, I didn't look that closely or pay attention that closely. It just, being a security guard, you just happen to notice things. And I just happened to pick up on that, and, you know, given the fact that I wasn't off duty that night, I wasn't paying that close of attention. Had I been, I would have picked up on it a lot more.
Okay, so you see him have that conversation, but you don't pay much attention and you're going about your business.
Right.
So taking it in terms of a reference to the time of, before Kenan Ivery is asked to leave the bar and after, before he's asked to leave the bar, do you see Justin anywhere in the bar?
Yes.
And to go back a little bit, he and Tiffany get there, they come in and you guys all greet each other?
Yes.
So after that conversation with Tiffany, between Kenan Ivery and Tiffany, before the defendant leaves the bar, or is told to leave the bar, do you see Justin at the bar?
Yes.
Do you see any interaction between Justin Winebrenner and Kenan Ivery at that time?
I did. Still not knowing that he had been asked to leave, I did witness and walk up to Justin and say something to Justin. I don't know what it was, but he did say something, and then walked out the bar.
Okay. All right, so after the defendant leaves the bar, is it at that point that you find out he had been asked to leave by Tiffany or what the issue was?
Yes.
Do you learn that the issue kind of stemmed from some kind of complaint or interaction between Anne Marie Cruzio and Kenan Ivery?
That was part of it. And then when I spoke with Tiff, I believe it was actually right when he re-entered the building, she walked up to me and said that this man has to leave. He's not welcome here. And I don't remember exactly my words.
Okay, let me stop you. That's fine. So, yeah, moving to that. So, you see defendant lean over and talk to Justin at the bar?
Correct.
But you don't hear what was said?
No.
You see your witness's demeanor? Defendant's demeanor? Or remember, if you remember.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't know how to word it.
Okay.
It was more of a, I just got one over on somebody demeanor, in my opinion.
Who was doing the talking between the two of them?
Mr. Ivery.
Did you see Justin responding verbally in any way?
I didn't hear nor see him say anything. In fact, I remember exactly what had happened was when Mr. Ivery said what he said to Justin, Justin just took a swig of his beer and set it back down in the bar, and that's when he left.
All right, so after the defendant leaves the bar, you do find out some of the issues between he and Anne Marie and Tiffany, what they've all been talking about.
Right.
Okay. And then, let's move on then, you said you see the defendant re-enter the bar. Where are you approximately in the bar at that point?
I am, excuse me, at the bar, right where that, I can't read the number there. Is that 13?
Here.
Is that right there?
Here. That's number 13.
Okay.
Around there?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you see the defendant do as he first re-enters the bar?
As he walked back in, he immediately started to beeline toward Justin, in which Tiffany pretty much stopped him in his tracks.
And this is, he's coming in the door, are you next to Tiffany or near Tiffany?
Well, I'm standing there, and Tiffany was probably right behind where Justin was sitting.
So she would have been to your right?
Right, correct.
Okay.
And then,
Is the defendant saying anything at that point? He's coming in the door and approaching Tiffany?
I don't think he had said anything at that point.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. You said at some point when he's coming back in, the defendant's coming back in, that Tiffany says to you something like he's got to go or he's got to get out, he needs to leave. Does that happen as he's coming in the door or as it's just kind of re-entered the bar?
I'm thinking it's as he was already in the door, and kind of made eye contact with him, already knowing that he had been kicked out. And then Tiffany walked up and said, you know, he needs to leave. This is, you know, he's not welcome here.
And at that point, do you say anything to the defendant?
I did. I said, you're going to have to leave. That nobody wants you here. You know, you're not welcome here tonight. And that's kind of where it started.
Okay. And take me from there, or from what you remember.
A lot of it I don't recall. Bits and pieces I do recall. The conversation between him and I don't really recall.
Like the exact words what was said back and forth?
Right.
Okay. So the gist of your statements to him or something like you said, like, you're not welcome here.
Those were the first words out of my mouth. I do recall that.
And did he respond to that?
He did, and it was something along the lines of, well, you know, I'm not leaving, or, you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to make me leave, or what?
So confrontational? Or?
Very confrontational.
Okay. And do you respond that by continuing to say you gotta go?
I just said, you know, well, honestly, I don't recall.
You don't recall your exact words?
Right.
Okay. But needless to say, he's come in, he's told he's unwelcome, he's already kicked out, they're telling him to leave, and that's not happening.
Correct.
Is that fair? Do you ever recall seeing the defendant with a gun at that point?
Not at that point.
Do you recall him talking about a gun or referencing a gun at that point?
I do not recall.
Do you recall him saying anything about the reason he returned to the bar?
I do not recall.
Do you recall him trying to explain why he was coming back in and not wanting to leave?
I don't recall him trying to explain anything. It seemed.
Did you say he left anything there to pick up?
I don't recall hearing any of that.
So you're asking him to leave, Tiffany's asking him to leave, and he's not leaving?
Correct.
What do you remember from there?
I remember him and I do remember a heated conversation between the two of us. I remember saying to him something about, don't go anywhere near Anne-Marie, stay away from her. You know, things that, I don't recall the exact words, but.
So you referenced Anne-Marie had issues from earlier?
Yes.
Now, do you see what's happening around you at that point? Other people coming up to you?
Well, I did notice we had drawn a crowd of some sort of small crowd. And
Do you remember who?
well, I do remember Justin coming up, you know, very clearly.
There would have been, you said he was on your right at the bar?
Correct. He would have come, right.
Because he's coming up to the right of you?
Correct.
And so you remember coming up, you remember anything he did?
I remember him trying to talk to Mr. Ivery, but I don't recall what the words were.
The actual words? So when Justin comes up on your right side, do you see him putting his hand on Kenan Ivery at that point?
He was, but I wasn't clear to me why he was.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you remember, is this like a clear memory of this?
Yes.
These moments? Okay. So Justin tries to talk to him, and what happened after that?
I didn't see Dave Eisel come to my left. I was completely focused on what was going on with Justin and Mr. Ivery.
And when you say you didn't see him, you watched the video since
yes.
that time, okay.
Yes.
So you know what's on the video, but you're testifying for what you remember?
Correct.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So all of a sudden, like this mass of people, Mr. Ivery, Justin, myself, and Tiffany included, Paul just started like moving toward the door area of the bar, at which at that point I was shot in the arm, and it kind of knocked me back. And then I looked and I was like, oh my, I just got shot.
Okay. And do you recall you yourself putting your hands on the defendant at all during this time?
No.
Do you remember either what feeling, the pain of the wound in your arm?
Yeah, it hurt.
What did you do at that point?
I don't really even remember doing it, but I ran across the bar and collapsed over by the kitchen area, and then I vaguely remember hearing more gunshots ring out. And then I'm thinking in my head, what is going on here? And then it just, in and out, vague or sporadic thoughts now from that point.
Things are happening quickly?
Yes.
After you realize you're shot in the arm, so you kind of walk fast or run over to where the kitchen area is and you're then collapsing on the ground?
Correct. I didn't realize at the time that I'd also been shot here in my abdomen area, and when I was bleeding out my arm, I'm like, why is there blood pouring out of my shirt? And when I look, I'm like, oh no, this is not good.
So at first you just think it's your arm, then you realize it's something went into a gun, a bullet went into your body.
Correct.
Okay. Do you have a scar from where the bullet went into your arm?
I do.
You can move it.
Here's the entrance.
Well, here's where it went in? Okay.
And here's the exit.
Okay, so it actually comes in sort of here, and just have your arm in a way that it comes out under your elbow. Okay? And then, from what we understand, the bullet passed through your arm and into your stomach?
Right, as if I had my arm somehow positioned like this, to where the bullet came in, came out, entered, and exited out my lower back.
Do you have a scar on your stomach? And you had to have surgery, right?
Correct.
Okay. Before we get into some of the, how we get to that, can you show us the scar on your stomach?
Right here is where I was shot, or hit.
Okay.
And there's my, when they had to pull my,
A little louder.
I'm sorry, this is where they had to pull my guts out to cut out 5 inches of my colon that had been damaged from the bullet. Would you care to see the actual one?
You
don't see that.
But it's back here.
Right.
Okay. So you actually had cut basically
From right
the
here.
lower belly
all the way
area
down.
all the way up your chest. Okay. Did you have when you were in the hospital or treating, did you have a chest tube?
I had all kinds of tubes. I was on life support for 3 days.
So the machines are actually breathing for you?
Correct.
With a ventilator?
Yeah. Yeah, down my throat. And I had a vent tube over here and something stuck in here. And I had holes all over me for them to do, what do you call that? Where they look for other damages.
Okay. So they go in and they repair your, take out, you said 4 inches of your colon?
5
5. And they're, take a look and see if the other parts of your internal organs were damaged?
Yes. Exploratory. That's what I'm looking for.
Exploratory surgery?
Yes.
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 How long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital, 7 days. Yeah,
Is it Akron City Hospital?
Akron City.
And to repair, obviously, your incision of your stomach, right?
Correct.
And how many, did they do stitches or staples?
I had 37 or 39 staples, somewhere like that. The bone, it missed all the bone miraculously, but I am numb from here down to here, approximately right here to here is all numb.
Currently?
Yes.
So
Like you could do whatever you want to.
some nerve damage done?
Yes,
You said you're in the hospital for about 7 days or about a week?
correct.
Did you, were you out in time to, well, sorry, that, when you got released from the hospital, did you have to have the rehabilitative care?
I had to have a home nurse come out every day for approximately a month to change my dressings, because I had holes all through my body. They had to come out and take out the old dressing and put in new and clean everything up and take my vitals.
And that was going on for about a good month after?
Correct.
And currently, how are you physically? Have you recovered from all these wounds?
I have recovered with the exception of the numbness and occasionally some abdominal pain. Yes, I've recovered.
Do you remember when you realized you shot and you collapsed by the kitchen, entrance to the kitchen area? Do you have a clear memory of the things that were going on then?
Not really. It's all come and go kind of. Some things I recall, some things I don't recall at all.
Do you remember Jennifer Inhofe, who you were with that night, caring for you at all?
I do.
Or Tiffany?
I don't remember Tiffany.
Now, you were interviewed by, not that night obviously, but you were later interviewed by the Akron Police Department's and detectives.
Correct.
Was that November 24th, 2014?
It would have been 2 days after I left the hospital. So, yeah,
And that was done in the Akron Police Department?
correct.
And because of your injuries and then abdominal surgery, is it fair to say there's some significant pain associated with that?
Yes.
Were you on pain medication?
Yes.
What types of pain medication? This is what a period of time I'm talking about is when you're discharged and maybe the time you're interviewed by police.
Yeah, I was on a high dosage of oxycodone, which is a strong Percocet, generic Percocet, I guess.
How long did you have to take, painkillers for the pain?
I was on that for a month, 3 to 4 times a day.
Sir, just finally, the incident that happened sort of at the door, going towards the door where you were shot, when Kenan Ivery comes back into the bar, you were where he made kicked out, correct? When he comes back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just, and you were face to face with him as he comes back in, and when you're talking to him and confronting him about coming back in?
Correct.
Okay. And just for the record, so we're using his name, but is that person present in court today?
Mr. Ivory?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, can you just point to him and describe his name?
All right, so now,
All right, thank you, sir. I have no further questions. Were these gentlemen may have some questions?
Good afternoon, Mr. McCady.
Good afternoon.
My name is John Drebin, and I represent Kenan Ivery. We have never met, correct?
Correct.
We have never spoken on the phone or had any interaction, correct?
Correct.
I'm sure you know that I'm going to ask you some questions now, right?
Correct.
Now, what I will tell you is, at any point in time you don't understand my question, I want you to let me know. I will rephrase it, define it, explain it, but it's always important we're talking about the same thing, we're on the same page, okay?
Okay.
Now, going back to the evening of November 15th, you would talk to the prosecutor a little bit about what your activities were before you ended up at Papa Don's. Just so we're clear, when you and Jennifer Imhoff go out, you go to Tiny's, correct?
Correct.
Tiny's is a bar,
Correct.
and Tiny's is a place where I'm assuming people go to drink alcohol, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now from Tiny's, you go to another bar called Shirley's, correct?
Yes.
Again, Shirley's is a bar that serves alcohol, correct?
Yes.
And people like you and whoever wants to go there goes there to drink alcohol, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Fair to say that both you and Jennifer at Tiny's and Shirley's are drinking alcohol?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Is it fair to say that both you and Jennifer at Tiny's and Shirley's are drinking alcohol?
Yes.
Okay. You then go to a bowling alley, correct?
Yes.
Now, do you go to a bowling alley to bowl?
No.
You go to a bowling alley to go to the bar portion to drink somewhere?
No.
Okay, why do you go?
To visit some friends who were bowling.
Okay. They serve alcohol at bowling alleys, correct?
Yes.
Did you drink at the bowling alley?
Yes.
Okay. So now, Tiny's you drink at, Shirley's you drink at, bowling alley you drink at. You then go to National Nights, correct?
Yes.
That's a country bar in Akron, correct? Is that the bar that you're currently employed at?
Yes.
Okay. Again, do you drink at that bar?
Yes.
Okay. So by the time you hit Papa Don's, you and Jennifer have consumed drinks at 4 other places, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You get to Papa Don's at approximately 12:47. This incident happens at 1:53. So you were at Papa Don's for at least another hour and 6 minutes, correct?
Yes.
And the entire time that you and Jennifer were there, you guys continued to drink, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What time did you first leave your house to go to Tiny's?
Again, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay. So let's say it was 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, at least for almost 4.5 hours, you guys are drinking, correct?
Yes.
Do you drink at your home before you go out to Tiny's?
No.
Okay. Now, when you are interviewed by the police on November 24th, 6:22 p.m., over on the 7th floor of the Akron Police Department, you remember that, correct?
Yes.
And you talked to Sergeant Litt, he was this gentleman seated right here in the middle, correct?
Yes.
As well as Detective Ross, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And before you had an opportunity to see the videotape, correct, of the incident?
Yes.
But prior to the police showing you the videotape, they want to see what you remember without seeing flipped at the video, correct?
Yes.
And at 4:55 of that, to quote you, you say I have, quote, lots of amnesia, end quote, correct?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Sergeant, if you take the stand, if we play that, is there a possibility that at 4 minutes and 55 seconds you use the phrase lots of amnesia?
I don't recall if you would or not hear that. I don't recall saying that.
Okay, fair enough.
Just to clarify, do you mean 4 minutes and 55 seconds into his interview?
Yes. 4 minutes and 55 seconds of the interview. Well, you don't recall saying that, but is it fair to say that prior to viewing the videotape with the police, you have virtually no recollection of what happened that night? Very, very little. Is that fair?
That is not fair.
That's not fair.
No.
Okay. They didn't show you the videotape, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, when you were at the police station, Detective Ross shows you, he's the guy running the computer box there. They put the videotape up on the big screen, correct?
Yes.
And they showed you the videotape, correct?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that even with benefit of the videotape, you still had problems remembering things?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, your interview over there lasts 44 minutes. In the very last minute of that interview, Sergeant Lickby says to you, I'm going to give you my card. is going to give you his business card. If things start to clear up, if you start to remember things, let us know, contact us, and we'll talk to you again, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now that was 10 months ago. In those 10 months, did you ever contact Sergeant Litney and say, I'm starting to remember all these things that I talked to on direct examination, let me talk to you again?
No.
Okay. Is it fair to say that the things you testified to on direct examination go above and beyond what you were able to tell the police back on December 24th?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes.
And can you clarify that date? Because you said December 24th.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. My mistake. You just testified with the prosecutor. That's called direct examination. Okay?
Okay.
So my question is, the things that you testified to on direct examination just now are more than what the statement you gave to Sergeant Litney on November 24th of last year.
So the question is,
The question is what you're testifying now today different than what you told Sergeant Litney
Yes.
back on November 24th?
yes,
Okay. Is that because all of a sudden you started to remember new things?
it is.
Okay. At any time prior to your testimony, did you review with the prosecutors a copy of that videotape of the incident?
Yes.
And when was that?
I can't give you specific dates.
That's fine. Within the past week? Within the past 2 weeks?
Within the past couple months.
Within the past couple of months?
I honestly, I don't recall.
Well, there's a big difference between 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago. You would agree with that, right?
Sure.
And did you go to the prosecutor's office in preparation for trial and view the videotape?
Yes.
Let's say within the past month. Let's say.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe within the past couple of weeks.
Yes.
Okay. And did watching that videotape help to refresh your recollection, help you remember things that you testified to on direct examination?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. When you viewed the videotape in the prosecutor's office within the past however long, month, 2 weeks, whatever it was, did that help refresh your recollection of the things that happened that night?
The things that were said and actions that had taken place, yes.
Okay? It helped refresh your memory with things that are said. It's fair to say that when you watch this videotape, it's pretty loud music, correct? And people were talking, it's a bar, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, it's fairly loud, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that it's hard to pick out particular things that are said by anybody, yourself included, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you are not an employee of Papa Don's, correct?
Correct.
You never have been an employee of Papa Don's, correct?
Correct.
And I know you say that you act as a bouncer now. You bounce at national nights?
Yes.
Okay. So you may act as a bouncer now, but clearly on November 15th and the 16th, you had no responsibilities as far as a bouncer or a cooler or any kind of security at Papa Don's, correct?
Nope.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay. You are a patron of the bar, correct?
Yes.
You're a regular patron of the bar, correct?
Yes.
But again, on that night, you're just a guy at the bar, having a couple of beers, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Prior to that night, on November 15th, had you ever seen Kenan Ivery before?
No.
Okay. Never at Papa Don's or never anywhere else, right?
I've never seen the man in my entire life.
Okay. So, at 1:53, Mr. Ivory walks into Papa Don's club. Okay? When he does, you've seen this before, correct?
Yes.
And this is Papa Don's bar, correct?
Correct.
And this is the front door right here.
Yes.
here's the bar, here's the tables, and the big Cleveland Browns guy is on this table right here, correct?
Yes.
And this is an accurate representation of what the bar looks like, fair?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, at 153, when Mr. Ivory walks in the front door, you are pretty much right here in front of him, fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, your testimony on direct examination was, you said that Kenan immediately started towards Justin, correct?
Yes.
You have no idea why he was going in that direction, do you? He was going in that direction, do you?
I have no idea.
Okay, so is it more fair to say that Kenan, when he comes in, starts heading in this direction where Justin happens to be seated, correct?
Yes.
Does Kenan ever say, when he walks in, I'm going to get Justin?
I don't recall.
Okay. He basically walks in that direction, but you don't know what else is in that direction, do you?
No.
If his leftover chicken wings are sitting right here, you don't know that, do you?
No.
Okay, and to this day you don't know if that's the case.
Correct.
Okay. But you agree with me that when he does walk in, Tiffany is also pretty close to where you are, correct?
Correct.
And Marie is pretty close to where you are, correct?
Correct.
And when he first walks in, he starts walking around everybody to come over in this direction, correct?
Correct.
So Anne Marie's in front of him, Tiffany's in front of him, and he walks in, and he starts walking over here, correct?
Correct.
All right. Does not appear that he makes a beeline for Anne Marie, does he?
No.
Or for Tiffany, for that matter, correct?
No.
Okay. Now, I've listened to your statement, I've heard your direct examination. Just so I'm clear, do you know any conversation that was had between yourself and Mr. Ivory when he walks in the door at approximately 153? Do you remember any of the conversation?
I remember telling Mr. Ivory that he is not welcome here, that he needs to leave, that we don't want him here, or that he's not wanted here. And there was more to the conversation that I don't recall.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can help. Do you remember saying to Mr. Ivory, hang on, I want to sure I get this right. Don't ever fucking talk to her or touch her again.
I don't recall those exact words, but I do know I had said some words regarding Anne Marie toward him.
Okay. Is it possible that you said I said some words, is it possible that you said, don't ever fucking talk to her or touch to her or touch her again?
It's possible that I said that.
Okay. Now, your testimony was as a bouncer, oftentimes it's your job to de-escalate things, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at the time Kenan Ivery walks through that door, you are a patron of the bar, not a worker. You're just a guy at the bar, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, you are an intoxicated guy at the bar, correct?
I had some drinks, yes.
Well, this is a certified copy of your medical records that were given to me by the Summit County Prosecutor's Office. Okay? Now, Murphy's Law, about the fourth to the last page, see at the top where it says patient David McCarty?
I cannot read that from here, but I'll take it.
Well, can I approach you, Judge?
Yeah, and it also does zoom in if you
All
want.
right.
Either way
Try
is
that.
fine. If you know how to use it. There you go.
Okay, can you see that?
I can.
Okay. You see there where it says patient David McCarty?
Yes.
Okay. And you see where it says ethanol, the name of the test, ethanol, whole blood. Okay?
Yes.
You see that? And you see that this test is taken on November 16th at 3:01 in the morning.
Yes.
Okay? Now, this happens at 1:53, so this is about an hour and 8 minutes after the incident happens. Fair?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you know, ethanol means alcohol. Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay. So, an hour and 8 minutes after it happens, see where it says result?
Yes.
What's the result?
0.13.
0.131. Now, you're probably aware that the limit for intoxication in the state of Ohio, I think every other state is a .08, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if you're a .131, you are at least 1.5. You're more than 1.5 times the legal limit for intoxication, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, when Kenan Ivery walks through this door, you said you've never seen him before.
Correct.
So,
Well, that night, I mean, I had seen him at the bar that night.
okay. Fair enough. That's what I mean. You know, prior to that night, you've never seen him before, correct?
Correct.
So maybe it's safe to assume that he maybe has never seen you before, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So Kenan Ivery walks in the bar. He is confronted by, with all due respect, you're a big guy, right?
Yes.
And I think you said before that oftentimes you're just able to talk to people. I don't think this is bad, but you're a pretty intimidating guy, right? What do you think?
Fine. I don't judge myself as intimidating.
Okay, that's fair enough. You are a big guy, though.
Correct.
Okay. So Kenan Ivery walks through this door. He is immediately confronted by a big, intoxicated guy at the bar. Fair?
Okay.
Okay? Not only is he confronted by this big, intoxicated guy at the bar, maybe this guy says, "Don't you ever fucking touch her or talk to her again." Right?
Maybe I did.
Okay. Would you agree with me that it would be tough to utter that phrase in a pleasant way?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. The phrase, "Don't you fucking ever talk to her or touch her again." Talk about that phrase. Would you agree with me that it's virtually impossible to say that phrase in a pleasant way?
I would agree with you.
By the nature of the phrase, it's harsh, for lack of a better phrase. Fair?
Yes.
Okay. So, now we have Mr. Ivery coming back in the bar. And again, your testimony is, Tiffany and Cusio are right there. He avoids them and starts going off to the left, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And he's confronted by you, and we've already gone through that. And you guys exchanged words, correct?
Yes.
Now, if you remember, you've seen the videotape on a couple different occasions, correct?
Yes.
And you said the videotape has helped you remember things and refresh your recollections, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember when you first had the interaction with Mr. Ivery stepping back and putting his hand up?
I do not recall that.
Okay. If if the videotape showed that, you would agree that the videotape shows it, you just don't have to remember, fair?
I don't believe that the video showed that.
Okay. We're going to show the video then. I'm going to ask you if you would step down and I have to sit down.
Yeah, and the microphone is right in front of Mr. Long.
I'm going to step down. Next stand this side. You don't allow jury view. Top of the microphone. I'll give you the pointer.
Thank you. Everybody see that?
Mr. McKay, this is, well, I'll ask you. Does this appear to be the videotape the prosecutor showed you?
Looks like it, yes.
Hold it up to your mouth when you're talking now.
Sorry. It looks like it, yes.
Okay, and, this is Tiffany, right?
Yes.
And that's David Eisel,
Yes.
and that's a bartender?
It appears that way.
Yeah. Is that you right there?
Yes.
Okay. It looks like you're wearing green, but it looks like everybody's wearing green.
I
So
know.
I don't know what you're wearing, but that's you, right? Now, have you had interaction with Brandon, this drunk guy down here?
Yes.
Okay, you know, he was put out of the bar, correct?
I was not aware of that.
Okay. Actually, he will be escorted out, and when Brandon's walking out, he is walking within the cross right at the doorway, right at 153. The I'll stop there for a little bit more. And then right with you is, right with you is Tiffany, you pointing to her?
Yes.
And Anne Marie is behind you, kind of hidden, right? I'll play for another second so you can see some movement.
Yes.
All right, that's, you can see Anne Marie's head just to the left of your head, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is your first ever interaction with Kenan Ivery your entire life, correct? You've never seen him before this night, correct?
Correct.
Prior this evening, you never had any contact with him, correct?
There was at one point where him and I said something to each other. It was, I don't recall what it was. And it was in passing. It may have been about the music or the song he played.
Okay. Nothing bad.
Correct.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, it appears that you're looking at Kenan and Kenan's looking at you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Perhaps, now the music is loud, but perhaps there's the start of a conversation between you and him?
Perhaps.
You see Tiffany step in between you and Kenan?
Yes.
You would agree with me that when Tiffany steps in to separate you two, she faces you, correct?
Yes.
And she puts her arms up to you, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. McCady, my question to you is, do you remember Tiffany stepping in between the two of you towards you?
Yes.
Okay.
not.
Okay. Do you remember Mr. Ivory taking a couple steps back from you, putting his hand up?
No.
Okay. Without even going there in the video, do you remember hearing the shots?
I don't recall hearing the shots that I was hit with. I do recall once I was laying on the ground, hearing 2 to 3 more shots.
Okay, so the first couple of shots, you don't remember those?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's good. Go ahead, Nancy. Yeah. Do you recall between 153.00 and 153.55 saying to Mr. Ivory, if you don't leave, I'm going to kick your black ass?
No.
You have no recollection of saying that, fair?
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
One moment, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. You can sit down. All right, we're going to take, let's take a 10-minute break. We may end up taking another break a little bit later, but comfort break now so we don't have to break up the next witness.